Well, hi, Chapel family. I'm excited to give you your Grow to Go update for the month of June. And as I do, I'm here with Steve Elworth, who is our sending director. But before I turn it over to Steve, I want to remind you what Grow to Go is all about. Now, Grow to Go is a 3-year initiative that's helping us to pour more financial resources into our mission efforts. It's also allowing us to create a sending pipeline that will recruit, train up, and send out 300 people into full-time ministry. 100 of them we are prayerfully hoping will go to the most unreached, unengaged people groups of the world. And then finally is helping us to do some upgrades to our facilities. Now, as we begin this update, I want to remind you that our upgrades to our facilities have never been about a building. The buildings at both locations have always been about serving people. And so far, even during our renovations, we have been serving and reaching and discipling people. If you remember at Segan, we had the opportunity to host a really large LSU women's conference back in the spring where the gospel was presented. And then recently we had VBS at Segan. We had over 200 kids and volunteers, and they heard the gospel, and we had children respond. And then in just a few weeks from now, we're going to be hosting Pine Cove's Camp in the City, which will have hundreds of kids from all over our community here at the Segan location to hear the gospel and be discipled more into what it means to following Jesus. Your partnership with us has been able to make this a reality, so thank you for what you're doing in helping us to upgrade our facilities. Now, I'm excited to say we're just a few weeks away from wrapping everything up. We're working on the outdoor canopies right now. We're finishing the gym over at the Segan location. So hang on, this project is almost done. Now, let's move on to something that's more important. Steve, glad to have you here with us today. I want our folks to hear a little bit more about what's going on, not only with our sending efforts, but also with those who are overseas right now, boots on the ground. We have some couples leaving, and we have some that have shared with you some exciting updates. So tell us what's happening.
Yeah, I'd love to. So we hear a lot about the building because we can see some things happening. We can actually see that progressing. And in the background with Grow to Go, as we create the sending pipeline, as we fuel our missions efforts, it's giving us the capacity and the structure to be able to get people to a place where they can launch overseas. And we've got 3 units, 2 families and 1 single, getting ready to get to the field in the next couple months, which we are really excited about. Now, there's a lot that we talk about in the sending efforts and in the preparation to go, but now that COVID is kind of past and people are starting to get overseas, we're beginning to see countries open back up, and we're getting to a place where we're gonna be able to continue to celebrate what God is doing overseas. Now, I got to have a Zoom call with one of our families that have been on the field for 4 years, and just 3 weeks ago, they finished their first language. It took them 4 years to get to a level of fluency in the first language, the trade language of the country, so that they can actually talk to people at a worldview level so that they can do life there well. And they're getting ready to transition into the second language. And that's significant because there are still 3,000 languages in this world with not one word of translated scripture. No worshipers of Jesus in these languages, and very few people trying to reach them. But in order to get into those languages, you have to learn the first language of a country just so that you can even function there. So these people that we're sending out, they are there for the long haul because gospel clarity to people is important. So it is really exciting to finally get to a place with people where they're fluent in one language and they can begin learning the next language so that hopefully, prayerfully, in the next decade, we'll be able to see churches planted where there's never been churches.
So what I'm hearing you say is they have learned the first language of the country, but now they're going into a subgroup within the country and learning the native language of that specific people group, which tells me that, folks, our sending efforts isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. I think you called it the long haul.
That's right. I mean, if you can imagine just learning a full language, it's difficult. Some of us took Spanish or French in college. We didn't even get close to fluency. But if you can believe it, that first language, it's comparatively easy. There's tutors, there's textbooks. But to learn these next languages that very few outsiders have ever learned before, it's a long haul marathon. but it's worth it to get the gospel where it's never gone before.
So our 3-year initiative, folks, is really to get these people on the ground, but God's going to continue to need us in the game for many, many, many more years to come to support them financially, support them through prayer, support them through care, so that they can reach people with the gospel in their own native language.
That's right.
Yeah. Steve, thank you for sharing that update with us today. Steve also puts out a prayer email on a regular basis to tell you what's going on in regards to our sending efforts. Make sure you read that, make sure you're praying. If you are not a part of Grow to Go, we want to invite you to jump on board and be a part of our sending efforts, to be a part of what God is doing through us financially to send people into the world to hear the gospel. And folks, that not only happens overseas, but it also happens on the campus of LSU and right here in the city of Baton Rouge. Every dollar you give, we use to help people meet, know, and follow Jesus. We really do appreciate your financial partnership, and we know right now things are a little tight with the economy, but you know what? We can never outgive God. He always blesses, and He always takes what we give and He multiplies it in a great way. So I want to invite you to trust Him with it today and see what God will do. For more information on Grow to Go or anything going on at the chapel, why don't you go to our website, thechapelbr.com. Thanks for listening today.